I'm giving her all she's got, El Capitan. How? Can I help you? Ooh. Love this thing. Now we're going to a truck stop. That's kind of one of the safest bets that you can get looking for a place to park at night. Most of them will let you stay there. Most of them are actually quite accommodating. There is nowhere in town here to stay, so luckily I had one spot that had like one night left that I could stay at, but that spot's gone, so which means I'm gonna have to skip town. Uh-oh. What's happening here? I see ambulances, I think. Yeah, and fire trucks. Oh yeah, there's a fire. 2 fire trucks. I hate the rubberneck. I'm guessing just a grass fire. Oh, no. Yeah, not sure what happened there. That's cool. Old bullnose chief truck. That's kind of cool. Dude, I'm so glad I have my camera on. I love those old bullnoses. I had one. It was also just as equally sketchy. I've had a lot of Ford products throughout my life. I can't seem to escape the 302. I've had one Ford that didn't, well, actually I had 2 Fords that didn't have a 302. I had a 360 and a 1976 Ford F-150 Custom, and then I had another Econoline that I owned for like 3 weeks. And that had a 300 straight 6 in it. That thing was also as equally sketchy as this thing, but at least the 302, I know what I'm doing with the 302. I want to pass you, but I don't think this thing's got the capabilities to do so. I'm giving her all she's got, El Capitan. She just doesn't have it in her. I've been thinking about how I want to do these sorts of vlogs and whatnot, and I think this is actually the perfect way to do it. I've got the camera on my head, I can focus on the road, and I can just talk. I mean, what else am I going to do? Sit in silence? Things could get weird. I mean, things are going to get weird regardless.
It's just me and you.
I'm sitting alone, talking to a camera, miles and miles of road ahead of me.
What you trying to say? You want me to jack you off or something?
Jesus, no. God, no. Of course not. Unless...
I've got no radio, and my stupid Bluetooth speaker is already dead. This fucking battery's wasted on it. I plugged it in to charge for like 5 hours, and then unplugged it and went like that. I mean, I could run an extension cord to it and probably keep it charging and use it, but that just feels cheap. You know, I could also put just a new radio in here, but I don't know how good any of this plug work is. I probably shouldn't touch it while I'm driving, just in case something shuts off. This also comes with the added benefit that this thing is sketchy to drive, right? You've got your fancy ProMasters and Sprinters and all these, you know, high-class, high-quality builds. These guys can hop in and just drive and not really have to worry about much. This thing is kind of like sitting on a bar stool with one of the legs are just ever so slightly shorter than the rest. So you kind of shift wrong and you suddenly go, whoa, right? It's just that it's sketchy. It's a lot like captaining a boat. Banjo Shack 1, of course, being that garage turned house with the fucking particle board walls in the bathroom. But I'll have to give a tour of what's going on in the back, because I've never actually done like a thorough tour of what I've built back there. I've talked about it plenty, but I've never gone through and said, yeah, this is how this works, and this is how this works, and this is what I do for this and that, and you know, so on and so forth. I've tried, I've just never liked how they've looked. I've never liked, I feel like when I get to talking, I talk too fast, and then I don't think I convey what I want to say, because I don't have time for, I don't allow my brain to catch up to what I'm saying. I'm just spitting things out. So I'm gonna, you know, take my time with it. I've got to get better with this stuff as is. I don't have a script. I don't have, you know, gameplay I could throw up on screen to just hide the fact that I don't know what I'm doing. This guy's going 45 and a 55. It must be full of poop. for anybody that doesn't know what this is my 1995 Ford E150 Econoline. It's a Mark III conversion van, so it's got a fiberglass top that's a little bit higher than the stock roof, and it came with things like TVs and overhead storage and an electric fold-down seat in the back and coolers in the armrests. It was, you know, decently kitted out for the time. Obviously, I ripped all of that out because it was 30 years old and had seen a lot of ass. Quite literally, a lot of ass. And I just wanted to start from scratch. So I ripped most of it out, but I didn't rip all of it out. There's another bullnose. And obviously, I did the conversion myself, and I did it on a very tight budget. Now, is this van a good example of what you should be buying in order to do van life? Absolutely fucking not. This thing is a hunk of shit, right? Now, I've fixed up enough on it where it's, you know, serviceable, but there's still a lot of things that I don't like the transmission. Sometimes shudders when it's changing gears. The gas gauge says 1/8 is empty. I put that there. I learned the hard way. There's just a lot of bumps and squeaks and noises at this thing that makes it kind of uncomfy to drive. And it makes me wish I had just waited a little bit longer to get something else. I had an option to get like a extended Dodge, I can't remember what they're called, one of the Dodge Ram vans. But it didn't have the high top, and it wasn't, you know, it didn't have the windows around it. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that that would have probably been a better option than this thing, bar the high top, because the high top is a fucking lifesaver in this. We are now in Winfield. I should have honestly just gone for that other Dodge, mostly for the stealth aspect. Now, stealth campers it doesn't really work. If you got solar panels on the roof, or you have, you know, water hookups or power hookups or anything like that, it kind of gets obvious that you're stealth camping, right? Ouch. This thing is a lot more obvious, but it would also have probably just been in better shape. I've had to rebuild the rear end on this thing. There's a bunch of things I've had to replace, and there's just still a lot that I don't particularly feel comfortable with on this yet. Now, I'm sure with time, as I go on, I could probably fix those things up and probably have a solid van, but I'd rather just replace the whole thing. I mentioned in the last video, I'm considering a bus, but the more I see these old bread trucks and Snap-on trucks and whatnot, I really like those. So that might be what I upgrade to. Everybody's probably wondering who the fuck I'm talking to. There's also an option of something like those old U-Haul trucks there. Something like that. I've seen people make some decent homes out of those. And they usually use the part that goes up and over the cab as their bed, or just a big storage or anything like that, or is there battery compartments? That way they got the whole floor plan where they just do whatever they want. That's an option, and I could probably, you know, wrap that or do something with that that makes it look a little bit less obvious. I mean, there's options. I don't think it's a Love's up here. If it's a Love's, you would totally allow it, because Love's is the best truck stop out of all of them. I believe in Love's superiority. But if it's not, then that's kind of up in the air. There's an old Pepsi truck in there. I don't think you guys can see it. That's kind of cool. Is it here that I want to turn? I think so. I could use, no, it's at this light, which is right here. Ooh, look at that. It's staying surprisingly cool. It had a few days where it was kind of getting a little hot. I don't know if there was maybe an air bubble that was slightly trapped that may have worked its way through the overflow. Well, now it's kind of getting a little, well, it's being sketchy. I'll keep my eye on it. Ooh, flat tire. Ooh, there's some cool stuff back there. See, honestly, I love having this camera on while I'm driving, because I get to say, look at that, and you guys can see, well, you guys can probably see it. I won't know until I edit this, but There's a lot that I wish I could share, but then I'd have to grab my phone and pull it out and take a picture. Now I don't have to do that. I could just say, look at that! Mega church! Oh god, it actually is. I was only joking about that. There's another old U-Haul. Do I see a Krusty Kramer? No, it's an old Ford. Ah, I see the lights. Like Mecca in the distance. Except it's probably just overpriced gas. How are we doing on gas, by the way? Kinda. I mean, it'll be fine. Chevron. There's a truck stop. And this truck's staying here. Could I stay here? What we'll do is I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna back in. These are blocking my view. Actually, this is all blocking my view to that. Do you know this is illegal in some states? You can't back in park. There you go. Hi, Nutters. Yeah, but yes, they'll let us stay the night. I'm gonna get cleaned up a little bit. It's only 4:30, so kick back, relax a little bit, and since I have guaranteed parking, I don't have to worry about much. See, that's why I love truck stops. That's why I just, every time there's a truck stop, that's where I go. It's a little bit noisy, you get used to it. Oh, I lost track of... anyways, I'm at a truck stop. As I mentioned before, they did let us stay. They're actually kind of cool. They said they got breakfast in the morning, they got cheaper showers compared to a lot of other places. It's $10 for a shower here. I don't need a shower though. And I went inside and I got myself my favorite dipped animal crackers, and of course it's already empty. They did not last very long. But no map. The highway's just right over there, and they have no map of the US. None. And the guy literally told me, what do you need a map for? You got GPS. Because I want a map. I want a physical map. There's a staple on my... But I'm gonna cook some dinner tonight. I already had some cereal earlier, so I need to wash that bowl out. But might throw the hat cam on if there's enough space here. And I'm gonna try to make some you know, Little Caesars has got those little tiny pizzas. I think they're called like pizza poppers or something along those lines. I can't remember what they're called. I'm gonna see if I can make my own. I got a little cupcake tray. So I got this. This is a cutting board that my brother made me and gave me. And it's been getting a lot of use. And it's probably time to throw some new bread butter, board butter, whatever it's called on here. But I think for now it'll be fine. So I just got cheap, thin and crispy. Oh, I don't know if that's what I wanted. There's also just cheap pizza sauce. Do a little bit extra because I'm sure some of it's going to probably boil off. But it says just one packet. So whatever. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something. Even though I've got a limited kitchen here, I can make some decent stuff, even, you know, in the space of a small utility closet. Doink. This seems very not doughy. Like I was expecting more of like something I could form and shape, and this is more cook before sneaking to taste. Flour is raw. Who the fuck is eating raw flour? Fine, powdery. Oh, fuck. Explosive mess. Who designs this shit? Not like that much extra. Balls. What are you doing in here? I'm making a pizza. Yeah, right. In your van? No, really, go look. I'm actually failing horribly. Now it just says to make a ball with it. Oh, shit. Okay. This is not right. There is definitely something majorly wrong with this pizza dough. The instructions lie. The instructions lie completely. I did exactly what the instructions said. Make a ball. How? Eventually, I'm gonna reach a threshold where it's too much flour. It's turning back to its sticky consistency. Like, how much water is actually in this thing? Where's the ball come out of this? Alas, a pizza pie. I might as well throw it in the bag and just keep mixing it around until it's no longer sticky, eh? How much flour do you require? Who the fuck are you? Can I help you? Kind of flatten it out. Yeah, it keeps shrinking. I thought dough was supposed to do the exact opposite. I thought it was supposed to expand. I thought it was supposed to like... Wouldn't you know, the GoPro died. God, I hope it caught most of the catastrophe on camera. Because this was an abject failure. And now there's a mess everywhere. Fucking, I cannot stand this thing. The battery life on it is so abysmally bad. This was fully charged before I started recording again. I stopped. When I stopped here, I chilled out, I plugged this back in, and it was at 100% when I started recording, and it's dead again. These batteries just suck. These are the worst batteries you'll ever see in your entire life. Awful. 0 out of 5. These are an absolute complete failure. I was trying to make the little Caesars pizza things, and the pizza dough that I got, it just would not set up properly. Like, it was super sticky, and so I added a little bit more flour, and then it got super sticky again, so I added a little bit more flour, and it just seemed to be, it wasn't workable. And even after I kept adding more and more flour, it just kept returning back to a sticky state. But now, I mean, these are too full of flour. So they rose too much, and I don't think there's anything I could do with these. So I guess it's gonna be just eat the pepperoni and take your failure like a man tonight. A lot of people complain about truck stops and rest stops and such like that because of the noise. And yes, there is like a constant hum or whatnot from trucks running, but besides him, it's really not that bad. And if you park close to the trucks, then yeah, you're probably going to get annoyed. But usually if you ask whoever's manning the registers at the truck stop, if you just simply ask them, hey, where should I park? They'll more than likely just tell you park anywhere as long as you're out of the way. And so you can park decently far from the trucks and find somewhere that's nice and quiet. The hums doesn't really bother me. Like, if I open the door or open the window, then yes, it's going to be louder, but it's really not that bad. Can I help you? Now, that's not to say that truck stops can't also be slightly annoying. Can't stay at one for very long or else the staff starts getting annoyed. They haven't kicked me off here. I mean, I'm just saying in general. Trucks do come in and out this way here, so maybe parking here wasn't the best idea. I should have probably parked, I think this is the only parking spot here. I could have parked up against the building, I guess, but gotta play with it a little bit. The starter relay, or the relay, the solenoid that's on the starter, the little small cylinder that goes on the big cylinder that is your starter, that solenoid is going out. It's not making perfect contact. If you play with the key a little bit, it makes contact eventually, but I'm gonna have to replace that eventually. And on here, in order to replace that, you gotta replace the whole starter, which is kind of annoying. The spot that I'm planning on going to now is a rock quarry in the city of Ewan, or I guess the town of Ewan, not to be confused with Gewin. Ewan is a completely different place, right next door, but still a completely different place. I've stayed here before, and I've even talked to a cop while I was there, and he said it was kind of a gray area. He wasn't going to do anything about it, but he also couldn't say for sure if I was allowed to or not. I am going to probably stop at Walmart though and get more pizza dough, because I do want to try that pizza thing again. And I'm hoping to get there not too early, but also a little bit early, because I got some stuff I got to do on my computer, and I'd like to be able to sit down and get some of that stuff done before I go back to recording and such. Ooh, someone's over there. Look at that big old fancy thing. Road Trippin' Rascals. Who's that? They must have stayed there overnight. But when I asked, they say no. Is it because it's a piece of shit van? Is it because it's crusty and ugly and brings your property value down overnight? Because I don't blame you at all. Oh, which way is the sun pointing? This way. So if I park right here, should be getting a decent amount of solar power this morning. Pre-made pizza crust. I don't know why I didn't get this the first time. I thought I could make my own and it worked just fine, but clearly not. That's specifically thin crust, which is I think what we want. I'll put this back in there for now for later. Orange cream Coca-Cola. We're gonna try it right here, right now. I like trying these random different flavors. Nah, it doesn't work with Coke. I don't know what it is. It's not very good, but it's like, it's not very bad. All right, you need to go up to where you normally go. God, I'm jealous of, man, I just would kill for something like that just because of the headroom alone. That, and it's probably not, you know, wobbly and feels like a wacky inflatable filling iron tube man on wheels. Now this place is cool up here because there's actually a open and operating drive-in movie theater. I don't think there's anything there playing that I really care about, but that'd be kind of cool. Mufasa, Captain America. I don't really care for either of those, but yeah, it's a fully operating drive-in movie theater. Is there anybody out here? There's not. It's just full of trash out here. I wish people would at least try to clean up after themselves. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Is that a boat? Did someone bring a boat out here and just shot it up? Right here, back up a little bit. This is a rough ride to get in here. It is a boat. It's an old boat. Someone just shot the fuck out of this boat. Oh, almost. Ooh! The van. This is my 1995 Ford E150 Econoline. It is a Mark III conversion van, which was just normal cargo vans. You would take them, cut holes in them, put windows in them, put a fiberglass top, and they would put amenities in there such as TVs, sofas, you know, so on and so forth, just to make them a little bit more luxurious. Make them great for road trips, camping trips, whatever you can think of. These things were nice. This one has obviously got a little bit of personality, feng shui. It's a little bit holy, maybe even. This one's definitely a more rough example of one. I mean, it's beat up, it's old, it's clunky, it makes all sorts of nasty noises, and the inside has been entirely gutted. I mean, there's still the overhead storage and the walls. That's actually just about it. That's the rest of it I gutted out. There were ground effects on here, but as you can see, they're causing some massive rust issues, so I ended up pulling those off. I ended up getting this after I got evicted from my apartment about actually a little I want to say it was January of last year, so it's been a little over a year now. And I've actually had this thing for almost exactly a year now. And I've been living in it for almost exactly a year now. But I've never really taken it on big road trips. I mean, I have driven back to Wyoming, and I've driven down to Colorado, and then I drove back here because I wasn't quite ready to take this thing on big trips, right? There was still the matter of putting solar power on here, internet, and a lot of mechanical things that even now still need to be fixed. As you heard, the thing creaks and groans. The suspension on this thing is pretty much shot. The starter's obviously having issues. The thing kind of runs a little bit rough, shifts a little bit hard. But I think those are things that I could fix on the go. Or at least I hope so. Now, what have I done to this thing? Well, quite clearly, it's got a few changes that you wouldn't see from the factory from either Ford or from Mark III. It has two 24-volt, 200-watt solar panels on the top that will feed into a 300 amp hour battery underneath. I've got shore power here that feeds a 15 amp charger, so it's not perfect shore power, but it does help keep the battery topped up. On the top, you may notice a Starlink satellite. That thing gets zero use. I bought it last year while I was in Colorado, so that way I had internet, and that was about the only time I used it. I would love to use it more, but there's two problems. A, it's Starlink, which is owned by Elon Musk, and I fucking hate Elon Musk. But two, that thing is $180 a month to run. $180 a month. In speeds, I get about 300 megabytes on a perfect day, pointing exactly where it wants me to have it pointed. I think for the speeds that I get out of that, I mean, it works, it's functional, but I still think it's a bit of a fucking ripoff. And if I could find an alternative, I would love it. I know people keep talking about the data hotspots that you can get, or using my phone as a hotspot. The problem is those are usually limited. The unlimited plans are stupid expensive, just like this. And they don't have the usability that this thing does. Here, I get really good cell service because there's a cell tower. I believe it's just right. Which way is north? I believe this is north, so right over there. But in other scenarios, when I was up in Colorado, I'd be in spots where I get no cell service, but I can get internet there. So that's the reason why I ended up buying it. But again, 180 bucks a month. Now, luckily it's not on contract. I don't have to pay that every month. But it is still obnoxious. It's still stupidly expensive. There's also a little dome that you can see up there. That's a vent. That's a little 6-inch max air dome vent. It sucks. It's awful. It does not pull any air. It is way unreliable. It is super loud, but that's about the most I could fit with everything else I had in there. I know a lot of people fit the 11-inch or 11.5-inch fans. And I could have probably made one of those work, but it would require a lot more hacking and fabrication that I really was willing to put in at the time, because I put that in Colorado. Most of everything up top, power and everything, I did in Colorado. I do have some more things I want to add to this. I would like to have a proper water hookup. So instead of having the tanks I have to pull out, I thought about pulling out this window panel here and putting water hookups, or maybe even cutting into the side here to put it in. And so that way I don't have to pull the water out of the van to drain it and fill it. I could just fill the water here and then maybe have a drain somewhere down here, so that way I can drain it. That'd make things 1,000 times easier. Luckily, the way that the shore power is installed, if I ended up getting a bigger charger, that would take like no effort to replace, because all this is a male plug that fits in here, and then you just plug your charger into that. Now, the biggest problem that I have right now is back here. These two rear doors, you might notice there's a barrel bolt on the bottom and a barrel bolt on top. The doors are chained on the inside. These are only to keep pressure on the doors, but these doors are broken, or at least this side door is broken. This one doesn't latch at all, and this one only latches from the bottom. The top latch doesn't work. As you can also see, I put this big old thing of sealing tape up here, because even with these installed, this thing still leaked, and leaked horribly. So, and luckily I've got all the water mess cleaned up, so there's no issues of mold or anything like that, but I would love to be able to actually properly use these rear doors. So I need to get new rear doors at some point. These need to go. Honestly, if I can get just a normal Econoline door here and then a window door here, that would be fine by me. Because I mean, I never use this window. Most of the time the curtains are pulled closed. I mean, if I get another window door here, I guess that wouldn't be too bad, because then I could see out the back. But if I get a solid door here, it'd honestly just be a little bit easier, because I could rest the pillows and everything up against the bed, and I get a little bit more leg room. There is a little U-Haul receiver hitch that the previous owner installed on here. Unfortunately, he half-assed the trailer lights, so they drug on the ground and they're destroyed. But I'm not thinking about putting a trailer on here. I do want to put one of those trays that fit on the back here and then put like a metal box or something that I can fit tools, coolant, oil, transmission fluid, any other spare fluids, so that way I don't have to keep them inside. I'd have them sitting here locked in a box, so that way if I need to make roadside repairs, it's easily accessible. I'm not having to go in and out of the van. It's all right here. And I would also like a spot to maybe put a bike, because I hate driving this thing around to, like, if I only need to go a quarter mile down the road or something like that, I'd rather just hop on the bike and ride there or something along those lines. I know a lot of people get e-bikes and then they store them in their garage, but because of the way the doors are, I didn't build it accounting for a space like that. And I wish I would have, and then just planned on getting new doors later, but I was looking at the prices of doors and I just decided to just chain these shut and just not even worry about them. Which is also kind of a safety problem, because that means my only exit is out of these front doors here and this side door. So these do need to be replaced at some point. I also do want to put like a piece of black pipe up here that I could fill with water and make like a solar shower out of. And I could just have something that like sticks off of here, and I could, build some bars that lock into place. I could take a quick shower, get my head cleaned off and whatnot, and then, pack it all up. This space here is my garage, which is just where I keep all of my tools and fluids and whatnot, all just sitting here. I've got jumper cables, bungee cables, cords for the shore power, nutter's litter, jack, lights, fluids, and then I keep all my tools in here. Go ahead and step inside, and I had to switch to my phone because, of course, my GoPro died, as per usual. This is the inside of the van. So the first thing you'll notice in here is that everything is very tight and compact, but it's actually not too bad. Now, a little bit more headroom in this van than I would a normal typical panel van because of the fiberglass top, but even then, standing up, I still have like this much headroom. So, and I'm still even having to hunch over a little bit. So most of the time I'm just scooting around in here on the bed and in the chair, and I could sit on the cooler and here. So it's not the end of the world. It is nice to have all this extra headroom though, because it gives me more space to store things on top of just having more space to move around. You'll notice right off the bat when you walk in, there's this big old box here. This is the propane storage box. So this whole bottom half is just the propane storage. Up here is just space for silverware, knives, lighters, junk. Back of this is pretty much just a junk drawer. Keep my coffee stuff up here, water bottle. I put this rug here for Nutter just to scratch up. He doesn't really use it. I put another scratching post here, but he'd rather just keep tearing up my weather stripping. This used to be an old wine rack, I think it was, because it had the little slats that you could put bottles into. I pulled them all out, sealed the box up, and then ran a line through the floor for the propane, or for like a vent for the propane. This is Nutter's litter box. The top of this can actually lift up. It kind of lifts off to the side, and then I can just clean his litter box from in there. This is an old coffee table that I had in my apartment. I've cut it down and put walls on it, and then that piece of trim around the entrance was actually from the van. I believe that was for the old fuse box that was in here for all the electronics, where the TV used to be and the overhead lights and everything like that. I figured I'd hold on to it, and it did end up being useful. Now I do lose a passenger seat, but let's be real, no one's riding in here with me. Here is my 2-burner oven camping stove. It's not a great stove. It's not bad. It's not a bad stove. I think I paid like $100 for it in total. The stovetop is definitely handy. The oven leaves a little bit more to be desired because it's just one line on the bottom and all the heat comes from the bottom. So things tend to get burnt on the bottom and don't cook very well on the top. You can see I can just smash all of my baking stuff into there. And then I've got an extra thermometer, because the thermometer on the front of this I don't think is very accurate. It'll still say like 200 degrees while this thing says almost 450, 500 degrees. It gets really hard to control the heat in here also. This knob doesn't seem to do very much. You either have it low and then it can't get hot enough, and you turn it up just a hair bit and then it just gets fucking sweltering hot in there. So the oven is kind of, it's nice to have, but it is not great. I could definitely get something a little bit better. I was originally wanting like a proper RV stove in here, but it's more of a hassle to install one of those than it was really worth at the time. So this works just fine. I would like to upgrade to maybe something a little bit better than this, but for now it works. Up here is just some more junk storage. I keep, you know, cards and toothpicks and such like that up here. The putty that I use to keep the stuff on the shelf there. I got some shot glasses. I just collect these. I don't drink very much, but I figured it was nice, you know, something nice and aesthetic. And a bunch of gamer subs. It's free samples. They accidentally sent me 2 packs of free samples. Been trying to get a sponsor. Been trying. They won't respond back to me. I'm on like 5th application. They won't do it. They won't do it. They won't do it. The gamer subs won't respond to me. Where's my sponsorship? Cutting board that my brother made in wood shop that he gave to me. I need to spray it down and put some new board oil on it. And then I've got a little cast iron skillet back here too, which often isn't rusty. It could probably use fresh cutting oil. I'd have to do that over a fire though. I don't want to do that in the oven. That'll start a fire. Here I've got sink, and there's just a little baking pan. It's really rusty and crusty. I've tried painting it. It doesn't last very long. And then this just will drain into a very disgusting gray water tank, and I do drain this every time I go to fill up the clean water. Garbage, cleaning supplies are all down here, and that does seal. So there's nothing to worry. I don't have to worry about this coming back up and like making a mess everywhere. But it does stink whenever I have to clean this out. And there's no U-bend, so that would probably be nice, is if I get an extra length of drain pipe and make a U-bend, so that way smell can't come back out of that. But I can just plug the actual drain itself. And then I keep this cutting board over the top of it. I don't actually use this cutting board as a cutting board, but this gives me some extra countertop space where I need it. Same with this. I don't use this cutting board as a cutting board. This is more just an extra surface. It's easier to clean this than it is to clean the actual top. This whole thing is an old entertainment center that was sitting in my buddy's shop that he gave me. And I just flipped it upside down and put some extra boards in to kind of even the gap out. It's not perfect, but it made it level. But it's hard to clean because this isn't sealed properly or anything like that. A butcher block or something like that would have been way better than what I did. But it's what I had on the budget. And I use this as my bread box. This is an old Jack Link's like gift box that someone had given me for Christmas, and I'm just repurposing it because it works out perfectly. It holds a small loaf of bread, Pop-Tarts, some spices up here. This controls the fan that's in the center that also has a light in it. And then this is for the Starlink, but again, that doesn't get any use, so it's just there. In this, I have this custom little shelf that's got cups, mugs, plates, bowls, toothbrush, toothpaste. And here is all my clothes, which I need to figure out a way to organize this better. It's just kind of a mess. I got clothes laying on top of each other, like my shirts are all underneath my pants. And then I got storage down there for extra stuff that I've got to clean and dust because it's got really dusty over there. Again, these rear doors don't work. They're just chained together, and then they're chained to the bed, which is mounted directly to the van with self-tapping screws. Up top is overhead storage. This was originally blocked off in the van, but then I just cut a hole and laid a couple boards down and a piece of carpet, and so I could store stuff up here. It's a decent amount of overhead storage. Put the controller over there. This came with the van for the old TV, and it works perfectly for the new remote for the new TV. Bucky, hung for his crimes, treason, homicide, and arson. He's been hanging there for a while. I'm surprised he hasn't decomposed yet. Underneath the bed is panels that you can use to lift up and get to the underside storage. In order to do that though, you've got to pull the bed off. You got to pull everything off. Then you have to pull the mattress out and lay it in here, and then you can get to those panels. So that's not easy to access storage. So a lot of my longer term stuff that I don't need on the like consistently, all stays in there. Oh, sorry. I do have these boxes here that I can access underneath the bed. The reason I don't have full access is because somebody likes to crawl under there and get himself stuck. So I have these sitting here. It's ample storage for just extra stuff. Socks keeps him from getting all the way back there and getting stuck, but there's still stuff that I can store. Under here is just more storage. This is where the old media center of the entertainment center used to be. And I just keep cleaning supplies, wrench for the gas lines, water filter for filling stuff up, oil diffuser. I don't use any actual oils in it. I use that mostly as a humidifier. More overhead storage here. And then I've got this big old thing of storage. Keyboards, laptop, controllers, other camera stuff. Up here I've got heavy coats, hoodies, towels, laundry bag. This is really, really handy. If you get one of these high top vans that are hurting for a little bit more overhead storage, this is nice. I think I spent 25 bucks on it, and my bulky coats and everything like that could go up there. The zippers on this kind of suck, but nothing's fallen out with this just open, so I haven't bothered to close it. I would like to see something with maybe a little bit heavier duty zipper and some extra pockets and whatnot. There is one extra pocket down here that I keep a notebook in. Yeah, if you need a little bit more overhead storage, get yourself something like this. Forgot to mention, all of my dry goods and pantry goods sit under there in that tote underneath the stove. Hi, Nutters. Here I've got a little cheap 24-inch TV. I got that on Marketplace for, I think, 30 bucks. It's an Amazon Fire TV, so it sucks, but it works for what I need. It's only 720p. It's fine, it works. More overhead storage. This is where I keep most of my medicine, first aid stuff, melatonin, everything, anything like that. And then of course, I said I've got this shelf here. I use that putty, that Gorilla Putty, whatever it's called, to keep stuff stuck here. So nothing's going anywhere up here. Nothing falls off. And I'm trying to leave myself some more room to put even more stuff. I've got my battery monitor here. That is for my 300 amp hour battery that is underneath the bed in the other compartment storage. I have the 300 amp hour battery, a 2000 watt inverter that the battery powers. That powers all of the 120 volt electronics. And then that little power ball there. And there's a set of 12 volt bus bars for any 12 volt electronics like the dome fan and the light. That's all fused and got everything, you know, it's got not fuses, but they're like breakers. Automotive 12 volt breakers. And then the inverter has a breaker on it itself, which is handy. Lots of cables, lots of junk kind of going everywhere. It's a mess, but it works. Like this here goes to a light here. And then this has a light. And then there's this light here that's rechargeable. I've got a desk light here, which is actually coming loose. I need to throw some more sticky tape on it. And of course, like I said, that's got a ring light, and the fan's got a light on it. And the fan is actually nice for dim lighting. If you're parked somewhere where you don't really want to be like noticed or seen. Like I said, this isn't a stealth camper, but I do also park in places that like, I don't want to obvious that I'm in here. So that is pretty dim lighting. That provides just enough light to do stuff without shining through the curtains or everything like that. This is for my phone. This is how I do the desktop footage. My phone's sitting in this. Swing this out of the way. Got even more overhead storage. My passport, everything's in there. Obviously, my computer's set up here. They use this TV as a secondary monitor. And then I've got my main monitor, 144 hertz monitor, wireless keyboard, mouse. My chair is just a cheap Amazon Basics chair. And I keep this strapped to the desk when I'm driving. And then Bucky, who was originally sitting in my passenger seat when I first got him, he sits in here. And we're gonna have to do some emergency surgery on him because his hat is coming off. I don't know how to sew or stitch, but I guess I'm gonna learn. So if I ever wanna work here, I just pull this out and pull the chair back, and I usually just throw Bucky on the bed. Drawing tablet and everything are strapped to here. I've got my 30 amp MPPT charger here. That's for the solar panels. So it converts that 24 volt down to 12 volt. And when it does that, it helps bring the amperage back up because the wattage stays the same. And so I'll typically see if the sunlight is perfectly overhead and the panels are getting direct contact, I'll see like about 27 amps at most. Right about now, it's not bothering to charge because the battery is fully charged, but it does do a decent job charging. I do also have a 20 amp DC to DC charger to install, and I'll probably bolt it to that surface there. But I gotta pull the alternator out to do all that. Then I gotta run a bunch of wire from the engine compartment back to here, and then run that to the bus bars down there and wire that to the ignition. That's a whole task, and I'm not too worried about it right now. When that computer is really drawing, it draws about 40 amps from the battery. which means I don't get a lot of battery life out of it when I'm really demanding a lot out of it. But when I'm doing just video editing or playing some lighter games or just using it, it just sits idle. It only pulls probably anywhere from 12 to 15 amps from the battery, which is about 6 or 7 hours worth of time on it before I kind of hit my limit. My limit is usually at 60%, the computer goes off. I have gone below that, but I've also been confident that I can get it back up. So, but 60% is usually my cutoff for my battery usage on the computer. My laptop also can plug in here, and I could use my laptop. The laptop takes a little bit less power, but when I'm using the laptop 99% of the time, it's for editing or just moving around on the internet. It's not really good for gaming anymore. It's old, it's winded, it's way past its prime. But when it does that, it only pulls about 5 amps from the charger, because usually it's just trying to keep the battery topped off. And so I can hit my 60% limit and then switch to my laptop and continue editing until about another 20%. And then that's when I say, all right, that's done. No more big electronics. And so I could get a decent amount of stuff done on this battery. When I do upgrade though, I would like to probably get something a little bit bigger, probably closer to 600 amps and something with a lot more charging capacity so I can use it to a lot lower capacity and then be able to bring it back confidently. Rode microphone, Samson SR850s, yes, that hang from the duck. I've got more just junk storage here. These are all my toiletries. Yeah, this is a Renogy dual zone cooler. This can run on 12 volts or 120 volt. Right now I just have it hooked into the 120 volt AC because it really doesn't make a difference. It might be a little bit more power consumption, but it's hardly noticeable. It only pulls probably 3 amps from the battery, even though it's being converted through the inverter when it's running. So when it's not running, it's just sitting at standby. It's probably like half an amp. It's really not a big problem. But you get a small freezer section and then a large refrigerator section. You can actually control these independently, and you could use this as the refrigerator. That is the freezer. Do both at the same time. It's really up to you. There's no battery on this, so I believe you can get a battery pack for these. But I mean, I don't need one because it's constantly hooked up to power. That is probably one of the best purchases I've ever made. I originally had a small refrigerator that sat there, and it was just a refrigerator. If you can afford a dual zone, get it, because having a spot to freeze stuff, ice cream, frozen fruits, frozen vegetables, anything like that, is so handy. So if you can afford one of these, get them. And this isn't a sponsorship by Renogy, as much as I would love it, because it's a really nice cooler. I'm probably going to keep that whenever I upgrade because it serves its purpose quite well. Now, whenever I'm parked anywhere, usually I just pull these curtains out. Right now, I haven't needed to do that because I'm not trying to hide from anybody over here. But I could pull these curtains out and throw them across the front. They don't perfectly block off the back, but they do good enough. I could take these and stuff them into the seal here, and then that side I could do the same behind this window. And, it provides enough. I do have somewhere, I have a blackout shade that fits in this, and then I could pull this down. The blackout shade for this one just sits right here, and then it's just a matter of sticking it to the Velcro, if I can get it up. And that blocks out a decent amount of light. Same with this. This has got a blackout curtain. I pull this shut, and it stays decently dark in here. I need to put a piece of Velcro on this curtain here to get it to close properly. But it gets decently dark, but without the airflow going through here, it also can get decently warm. So if I can, I'll keep those open with the windows popped open to get some decent airflow. And then with that vent, which is kind of makes a racket, it draws enough air to get a draft in here to cool it in here. Turn that off for now though, because it is stupid loud. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this, like I said, this is where the TV used to be. This is just extra clothes storage now. Originally, this was... There's always bound to be something that falls out of there. Originally, this was a spot for Nutters, but he never used it. Up until I started putting clothes in there. Then he would want to use it. And as you can see, he wants to play with everything now. So I put the whiteboard up there, and I need to actually clean it off and put the commissions that I'm doing on there so I can scratch off which ones I've done and which ones I haven't done. So that's life in the van. It's not honestly that hard. Just the biggest problem is space, because I have to, like, again, shimmy around here, which kind of gets annoying and obnoxious, but it's not too bad. The biggest thing that you should probably remember if you're planning on building this is make sure you got things in places that aren't going to move around. If you got stuff that you've got to keep putting away and stuff you got to keep moving around and, you know, put up every time you go, it's going to get really, really obnoxious. So if you have something that you could just, all right, when I'm not using this, this hangs here, right? These don't go into a box and that I've got to remember to put it in the morning. Have your storage be secure all the time. There's plenty of other rules I can go over, but we'll save that for another video for the future. But in the meantime, I think I'm gonna get some work done on my computer while it's still light out and I'm still getting plenty of solar. Either this episode or next episode, we have some unfinished business with those pizzas. But in case I do decide to make this just one episode and save everything else for the next episode, that'll be it for the first official Wyos log. So, if you see me on the road, don't follow me.